Okay, today we're talking about Module 2, Lesson 13, and you should have written down the learning goal, which today is to be able to convert units of measurement by multiplying whole numbers. Okay, so today we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're still talking about multiplication, but we're using multiplication to help us figure out units of measurement and how to convert them. And what's another word for convert? If I'm converting something, what am I doing? Reagan? Yeah, I'm changing it from one type of measurement to another. Okay, and so our problem of the day gives us an example of that. It says a small female gorilla weighs 68 kilograms. How much does she weigh in grams? So in this problem, we're converting from one type of measurement to another type of measurement. We're changing from one to another. Okay, so what measurement do we have? We have kilograms, and we want to change it, convert it into what? Grams. Okay. Now, are we changing the weight of the gorilla? No, we're just changing the way we're describing or we're labeling the weight. Okay, it's like how I can say that 1 yard is 3 feet or it's 1 yard, right? It's the same exact thing, same length, but it's a different unit of measurement. Now, how are kilograms and grams related? How are kilograms and grams related? Arhan?
They're both units of weight.
They're both units of weight, but how many, grams, which one's bigger, kilograms or grams?
Kilograms.
Kilograms are bigger. How much?
1,000.
So in 1 kilogram, there are how many grams? Yeah, remember when we learned about this in Module 1?
Kilo.
Okay, so let's look at the problem. If the gorilla weighs 68 kilograms, is she going to weigh more than 68 or less than 68 grams? More. Because in every single kilogram, there's 1,000 grams. So how many grams are there in 2 kilograms? 2,000. How many grams are there in 3 kilograms? What about in 5 kilograms? Okay, so how many are there in 68 kilograms? I can know. Right, because to get from 1 kilogram to 68 kilograms, I had to multiply by 68, right? 1 times 68. So if I multiply 1,000 by 68, I get 68,000 grams. Okay. And when we're talking about measurement, let's draw some branches out like this, because there's different things we can measure. We can measure time, we can measure length, we can measure weight, and we can measure capacity, which is volume, or how much space something takes up. So go ahead and organize you, and you want to leave yourself lots of room because we're going to add to this web, okay? So this might be an entire page that you're saving for this. Go ahead and write down these different things that we can measure. What are some units we use to measure time? So there's many different units we use to measure time, including seconds, decades, years, hours, minutes, months, weeks, centuries, sure, okay? They all help us measure time. Now, are these related? For example, are there a certain number of seconds in a minute? Right? Are there a certain number of minutes in an hour? Are there certain numbers of hours in a year? Or a certain number of years in a decade? They're all related, right? So could we convert from days to weeks? Or weeks to days? Or weeks to months? If I said that someone was going to go on a hike for 4 weeks, could we express that in a number of days? That's 30 days, right? Or how many months would that be? 1 month. So we can convert from different units of time to express the same amount of time. Does that make sense? Okay. We can also have units of measurement for length. Length measures how long something is, or the distance from one point to another point. Okay? Now, when we're talking about length, weight, and capacity, there's 2 different systems of measurement that we use here in the United States of America. We'll use the metric system as well as what's called the customary system. Okay? And back in Module 1, we talked about the metric system only. What is the basic unit of measurement using the metric system when we're talking about length? So using the metric system, we measure length using meters. Okay? And as we know, we can add a lot of prefixes before to make it bigger or smaller, like kilometers or centimeters, right? Or millimeters. Okay, or hectometers. Remember when we learned about those? Decameters, right? Okay, so meters is the basic unit we use to measure length, or the distance from one point to another. Okay? So as we were discussing, you need to memorize it, but it's really easy because you know it's metric if it has the word what in it? Meters. If it has the word meters, doesn't matter if it's kilometers, centimeters, millimeters, decameters, hectometers, anything that has the word meters in it means it's metric. If it's feet, inches, miles, or yards, then it is customary. Okay, it's just two different systems, and that's how it is here. What is the basic metric unit of measurement to measure weight using the metric system? Arun?
Kilograms.
You said it with the prefix, but the word is grams. Okay? It could again be kilograms, it could be milligrams, it could be centigrams, right? It could use any of those prefixes, but as long as it has the word what in it? Grams, then you know you're measuring using the metric system. What are some units we use in the customary system to measure how heavy something is? Vasisht?
Cups.
Nope, cups does not measure weight. Kevin? Pounds. Yeah, when we talk about pounds, and the abbreviation for pounds is lbs. Okay, write that down. Sporty? Ounces, you got it. Pounds and ounces are how we measure weight in the customary system. So when we're using the metric system to talk about how much capacity something has, we use liters. Again, you can use any of those prefixes, kilo, centiliters, milliliters. You can think about in science, when we measured water, we measured it in milliliters, right? We were finding the volume of water, okay? What about in the customary system? If I want to figure out how much space something takes up, think about when you're baking, you have to measure a certain capacity of milk or a certain capacity of flour. What are some units of measurement we use? Aaliyah? We use cups, yep. What else do we use? Aditya? Pints, sure. What else do we use? You should have learned about this in 4th grade. Dhruv?
Gallons.
Okay, gallons. And there's one more that we have learned in 4th grade. Michael? Quarts, you got it. Okay, thank you. So if you look back at your lesson 1.4 notes, you'll see how these are the metric units and how they're related. This chart shows us that there are 10 kilograms in 1 hectogram. There's 10 hectograms in 1 decagram. There's 10 decagrams in 1 gram. There's 10 decigrams in 1 gram. There's 10 centigrams in 1 decigram. So then there's 100 in 1 gram. And then there's 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. This should be this should be familiar to you. Remember we talked about each, it's like the place value chart because each one increases by a power of 10. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. We're not going to spend time learning that today because we've already learned it. If you don't know it, it's your job to go back and review it. Okay, so here are some customary conversions you need to know. And these are just like basic knowledge facts that you need to memorize. Some of them you already know. For example, how many inches are there in 1 foot?
12.
Okay, write it down. How many feet are there in 1 yard?
3.
3. How many feet are there in 1 mile?
2,000.
Incorrect. 5,280. Write it down. And then, therefore, there are 1,760 yards in 1 mile. In the customary system, you need to know that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound and 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. You need to know that there are 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. This is a little bit confusing because fluid ounces is not what the weight ounces are. Okay, they're different. There's 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup, 2 cups in 1 pint, 2 pints in 1 quart, and 4 quarts in 1 gallon. The problem we're trying to solve is we're trying to figure out 3 weeks is how many days, okay? And I know this is really easy for us, but I want us to use this easy problem to get used to the format for how we're going to think about it. So we're first going to say that 3 weeks is equal to 3 copies of what? Of 1 week. Now the stuff in the parentheses, this is called our conversion factor because that's what we're going to convert. Everything we put in the parentheses needs to be equal to what's in the parentheses above it. Okay, so we can say 3 weeks is 3 copies of 1 week, which is the same as 3 copies of how many days? 7 days. Okay? We know the conversion factor of 1 week is equal to 7 days. The only thing we changed, we didn't change the amount of time, we just changed the label. We changed from week to days. And now we can use our multiplication to know that 3 times 7 is how many days?
21.
So therefore, 3 weeks is 21 days. 3 hours is the same as 3 copies of 1 hour, yes? And you'll notice 1 hour is in parentheses because that is our conversion factor. We are going to change the label from hours to minutes. So 3 copies of 1 hour is the same as 3 copies of how many minutes? How many minutes? 60. What we have in the parentheses here, 60 minutes, is the same value as 1 hour, yes? Do you see how what we put in parentheses has the same value?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're ready to convert. 60 times 3 is what? 180 minutes. So 3 hours is the same as 180 minutes. Did we convert from a small unit to a large unit or a large unit to a small unit? We converted from a larger unit of hours to a smaller unit of minutes. So did the number get bigger or smaller? When we convert from large to small, the number gets bigger.